local community. Rogers TV is proud to support local producers and share local voices, ideas, and opinions. For more information, please visit our website.
Welcome to KickBack. My name is Ben Strasser, and today we are presented by CMHA, Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk, and we are at Hudson Public, downtown Brantford, and I'm incredibly happy and thrilled to have Lizzie, my friend, come on to share your recent journey with grief. And I just want to say that I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey with grief. It's something that has become incredibly close to my heart over the last 2 or 3 years. And so I just want to preface all of this with just a big hug. And I just really appreciate you coming to share your story with the loss of your dad.
Well, thanks so much, Ben, because I just know how important it is going through so many other types of losses, like when we went through miscarriage and infertility, how important it was to talk about it and to share our story so other people can find it. And when they do, it makes an impact on their life. So the stories that over the years of KickBack that have impacted people, it's immeasurable. And I only know that because people have shared that my story has impacted them before. And I was really looking forward to coming and sharing his story, my story of grief with my losing my dad, to hopefully impact other people I know that they're in this journey, or when they are in this journey, that they're not alone.
Right. Can you share about what the early days after your dad had passed, what maybe some of the unexpected feelings that you navigated during that time?
Well, the whole thing was unexpected.
Right.
So my dad was only 67. And it was the Thursday before Easter, and John and I just got home from lunch, and I remember telling him, like, the world feels so heavy, and then my phone rang. And it was my mom saying that my dad had a heart attack, and she's on her way to the hospital in Kitchener. And I had asked a couple questions. I hung up that phone, and I looked at my husband and said, so my dad is dead. And he's like, what? He's like, he's had a heart attack. I know in my heart that he is gone. Because all this heaviness that I had felt just vanished. So, and it was so unexpected because he was 67, he was working with my brother still, like semi-retired, had plans to travel with my mom, and we lost him a lot sooner than any one of us would have ever thought. This guy had 9 lives. We thought that he was gonna live to be 100, beat all the odds, so it was very unexpected. So the journey of grief was very shocking. Right? It was very numbing and quiet because you're in this stillness. And it's only your world that you're in this stillness because the world keeps moving even when you are grieving and your world has stopped. So that's really what it felt like. And at the same time, because of all my other journeys with grief, being a NICU mom, seeing my child struggle to live, right, until he had surgery, I knew that there is another side to this, and our grief is going to grow, and that there's still joy to be found in life, because there's this book called The Book of Joy, and it's with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. I don't know if you've ever read it.
No, I haven't.
If not, put it on your bucket list to read. And they talked about how joy and grief can walk hand in hand, and that you can't give up one because of the other.
Right. And I think that's such a beautiful visual, and grief is something where it's a big thing, but it also often shows up in the little things. Yeah. And they kind of continue to show up for a very long time as you navigate life, because it's the loss of them in maybe the phone calls, or it's the loss in something that maybe a mutual thing that you enjoyed, and you see something and you're like, that's something. And then like I lost my uncle about 2 years ago now, and he was very important to me, and there's so many times still that things pop up and I almost want to give him a call, and it's like, oh right, that's not possible, right? And I think the grief journey is an ever evolving one that you continue to navigate it, and it just kind of continues to unfurl.
It's like every time I get a Canadian Tire flyer, because that's where my dad loved to shop, 7 a.m. on a Saturday, you would have been there for the deals. So it was a long time, just getting the Canadian Tire flyer, I was making me cry. Right? Yeah. So, and then my dad was also a bricklayer, so sometimes we go by buildings, and I'm like, I knew he built that.
Right.
Like we were at Farm Boy, I'm like, I know he did the block work here, and Jack knows. And so sometimes those moments get really hard, and I have to balance raising my child who has missed his papa and also my own grief in these moments, right? But now we go to Farm Boy and we'll enjoy being there, and my son's like, oh, Papa helped build this place. So it makes it a little bit special too, right? Because our grief has now grown around our lives, so we're not deep in that stillness and that really heavy part of grief.
Was there anything that you weren't ready for with the grief? I know it was unexpected, but having navigated grief, did it show up in any ways that you weren't quite prepared for that way?
I think it was just the diversity of how grief was showing up for everyone around me, and my sister-in-law Becky, and she's been part of our family for, I don't know, like 20 years, and so she was close with my family and my dad, same, and so when everyone was showing up in different ways, either angry or mad or this or that, and she just looked at me and said, we are all just trying to navigate this life for the very first time without your dad.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it, and this is how everyone's going to show up, and it's not going to look how you expect it to look, and it's going to be different from my own journey. So I always just keep that in the back of my mind when I'm doing something new or a new experience, is like it's the first time we're all sort of navigating this for the first time. Right. Especially in those hard moments. So that message to me was so important, and I really needed to hear that, and I continue to hear that when I need to.
Right, and how important was that message and like the community that surrounded you?
Community was huge. So they didn't just show up for me, because I know in that moment, like I was like trying to support my family, because my brother was there when it happened, my mom, and those who arrived at the hospital. So just trying to support them and just being very mindful of everyone's position and where they are to like the grief. So trying to be very mindful. So I asked and my community showed up. And so I'd love to share.
Yeah, please do.
People sent us a book. So my friend Missy brought me this book called The Dragonfly Story, and it's about death and explaining the concept of death to children in terms that they can understand. Available at the library, you can YouTube videos it. So it can be a really good way to explain to children. And then my cousin Jennifer sent me this book called The Invisible String, about how grief and people who are not here physically with us, we're also connected by these invisible strings, and how they tug at our hearts and our memories. So these are great resources. And then I was very fortunate that I have a lovely friend who made memory bears for my nephews, and a pillow for my mom, and also ornaments, and one of my dad's shirts. And she showed up that way. I'm not giving a name because it's something that she does very personally. And just showing up that way to be like, this is very important. This sucks. It sucks being part of the Dead Dad Club. And we're here to support you. So, and if you can't find community, you can ask for it. People usually want to help, right? And if you need to talk to somebody, sometimes funeral homes will have a grief hotline. I know Stedman Hospice has grief support. But if you're not sure, like no matter where you're watching from in Ontario, you can call 211 and ask for your local grief support line.
And I think that it's natural to grieve. And and everything that I've had as far as conversations around this and been instructed, it's important to feel all of it and not shove it in. And to feel it all and to let it all out and make sure that people understand that you're struggling, and that taking time for yourself in that moment is not a selfish thing. It's something that is needed.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hi, Pastor Mark here. Join us each and every week on Sundays. There is a place for you here, a place to explore, a place to dream, a place to journey, and a place to belong. All are welcome. No exceptions. That is St. Peter's Church, every Sunday at 11 a.m. God bless. We'll see you soon.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally. And that's when I first saw Wilf. And I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.
Joel Sherbino and the Paris Community Church helped connect life with faith through their program, Sundays for Paris. Hear sermons, listen to hymns, experience all that the Paris Community Church has to offer. Sundays for Paris, Sundays at 10:30 a.m., right here on Rogers TV.
Aging Well brings you conversations with experts to help empower your golden years with enthusiasm and optimism. Don't miss Aging Well with Angela and Alice Liu, Mondays at 7 p.m.
Summer days, summer nights, lots of things to do, places to go, and people to see. If you're having a few drinks, be sure to plan ahead and get home safely. We don't want to pick you up. Drinking drivers risk injuries to themselves and others and take chances with their license, their jobs, and their future. Remember what's at stake and choose your ride, whether you're the driver, the passenger, or the party host. Thanks for supporting Sober Driving. I hope we never meet.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Welcome back to KickBack. My name is Ben, and we are proudly presented by CMHA, Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk. I'm now joined by my good friend, Amy. Amy, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come in and chat with us in our audience. You are a grief recovery method specialist.
Yes.
And I just so much appreciate what you do. And it's just in the last 4 or 5 years of my life, I've experienced a lot of grief, some which people wouldn't necessarily attribute as grief, but knowing to be able to call it that really shifted my perspective and opened my eyes and really helped me heal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Once we learn the definition of grief, which is by definition is the conflicting feelings when a situation changes. So it can be when you lose someone you love, it can be a divorce. I personally believe that every single human on the planet is experiencing their sense of loss of who they were prior to the pandemic to now, 5 years later, now that I'm reworking with people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think that's true, right? And I think that that's something that shouldn't be thought of lightly or taken lightly, that we did all experience a global event.
Shift in loss of safety, loss of trust, loss of so many people, loss of finances. And trust, it comes like at the government down, right? So,
right. And so for you, what was the season in life that maybe you realized it was too much? Or too heavy, and you really needed to deal with maybe what you didn't know at the time was grief, but was grief.
So I'll take you back to 2017. 2017, I had separated from my kid's dad, and it was that Christmas time where my dad and my grandmother were both in the hospital. My dad was in Jurvinsky, and my grandma was in Brantford General, and I was like, I gotta do something because I feel like I'm just not right, and I was angry and I was frustrated, and then my kids got lice as well, and even lice is a huge grief because it's a change in a normal familiar pattern. So I reached out to a grief recovery specialist here in Paris and started the program, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna prepare to grieve. What I didn't realize is that I hadn't grieved the loss of my mom from 2004 when my mom died. So I had accumulated those losses as well. I started the program, and it's a 6-week program that you work one-on-one with grief recovery specialists. And at week 3, I learned something called STIRBs, which are short-term energy relieving behaviors. So this would be anything from drinking to smoking pot to shopping to pornography. So basically anything that distracts you from healing. And my biggest distraction was wine. And I was like, I'm not ready to give up my wine yet. So I quit the program. And I'm very honest when I start working with people. I'm like, I quit 3 weeks in. Like, I was like, nope, I'm not ready yet. Fast forward to 2017, 2018, losing my grandma, losing my dad, and then the end of 2019, I had a business in the Artisan Village, and the windows leaked, and the landlord said, well, it's a good thing you have insurance. And I was like, no, this is not right. So I closed that business. January 1st, moved the business to my home. March 1st of 2020, moved my kids to the home, and then March 11th, the world shut down. So when the world shut down and having to lose my reopen 4 times in 2 years, I realized, okay, I gotta stop drinking for one. So I stopped drinking, started walking 5 kilometers a day, and then went back to the grief recovery method and got certified. Was working with people for about 3 years, and then 2 years ago went through the biggest change in life that I feel women can go through, which is menopause and perimenopause. So that's another level of grief that women can recognize and are aware of their changes. So I'm now helping women navigate the changes within that change of life as well.
Right, and I think that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily label those ones as grief.
Absolutely not. There's 40 different losses in life, believe it or not, and I think I touched on some, like divorce, loss of child, loss of parents, loss of grandparents, but then the ones we don't talk about are the less than, like losing someone less than loved. So I didn't really know my stepbrother that much, but when I read his obituary, I was, it's still grief,
right?
Because it's conflicting feelings within a time.
Right, and I know that I particularly went through grief through like the grief of life before we had kids.
When you become a parent, absolutely.
And like that change and how that shifts. That's a big one.
Your identity as Ben the dad versus Ben the non-dad?
Yeah, fair, right? Fair. It's a big change.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's looked at as something that you should be so happy about.
Yes.
And you are, but it also comes with a lot of big changes to your life and your day-to-day.
Yes, 100%. And as a woman, when I was navigating the becoming a mom for the first time, I didn't even realize that, what I was I remember feeling something's not right, but I didn't realize it was the grief of me not being able to call my mom and say, hey, is this normal?
Right.
Until I went through the program.
Right, and I think that that's probably what makes you such an incredible resource for your clients, is because you have that lived experience. And I love that. I don't love that you had that experience of like the 3 weeks in and not doing it, but I love that you share that with your clients and just you're real.
The honesty of it.
Right, and I think that that's got to be such an important piece of this.
It's one of the core concepts in the grief recovery method is emotional honesty. Because if you're not emotionally honest, you're lying to yourself.
Right.
You know.
And for somebody that's maybe watching and thinking, they're saying, oh, you know what, maybe I am experiencing some form of grief, and they're ready to be honest with themselves with what that looks like. What are the steps that they can take to, like, what is the next steps look like for them?
So we book a discovery call. It's about between a 45-minute and a 1-hour call, and I let the person I share their story of grief, and then I just educate them on I'm not trying to fix you. You're not validating for number one. You're not broken. It's the emotions that you haven't had a place to complete the emotions within the grief.
What are some of the earlier signs of realizing that you maybe do need to get some help for what you're experiencing?
Anger, and extreme sadness. If you find like you're not being able to even the basics like brush your teeth, you're not making your bed, your dishes are piling up on your sink, like those are all signs of grief.
Interesting. That's, I mean, it's such an integral part of like your everyday life and how it can show up in literally anything, right? And it's something that we're not trained to
at all. Well, a good example is when you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off. What do you do?
Right, you get upset.
but you're getting upset because somebody else did something. So that's putting the responsibility on them, right? Whereas you have a choice. You can choose to react, or you can choose to let them go.
Right. And I think that that's an important piece to mention then, is that you have the choice to be able to continue to live with live how you're living.
And taking responsibility for your part.
Right. Of the grief and the loss and what that looks like.
So essentially what we do in the grief recovery method, which is not, it's not talk therapy. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a social worker. It's an evidence-based 6-step program where you actually look at the relationship and you figure out where the hopes, dreams, and expectations were not met, and you're actually in a safe place to be able to communicate those regrets and losses.
Well, and I feel like there's a lot of people that feel like maybe there's a lot of comparison in like their struggles.
Big time.
Right? And that they're not big enough, or that's just not valid.
Or you're too much.
You're too much, right? What do you say to those people that are maybe watching right now?
Your grief is not too much. You are not too much.
David Prang from the Chamber of Commerce Brantford Brant speaks with community members about events and organizations that impact the city of Brantford and the county of Brant. Chamber TV, Thursdays at 6:30 p.m., right here on Rogers TV.
You must be the reporter. Come with me.
So, Miss McGill, how does it feel being Canada's famous women engineer?
The real story is the work we've done retooling this factory.
To build the Hawker Hurricane?
Indeed. 40 planes last month with a capacity of up to 100. Our fighters are over England as we speak. Of course, it pains me to see airplanes mass-produced like boxcars or baby carriages. But in war, we make concessions in favor of innovation.
You must feel at home, though, managing all of these women.
I'm not here to manage women.
Well, you must admit it is an unusual job.
I'm the chief engineer here. I do what engineers do. That's all.
What are we doing now?
We're to win this war. We need to know how she flies.
Elsie McGill was the world's first female aeronautical engineer. She oversaw Canada's production of Hawker Hurricanes during the Second World War, earning her the nickname Queen of the Hurricanes.
Hi, Pastor Mark here. Join us each and every week on Sundays. All are welcome, no exceptions. That is St. Peter's Church, every Sunday at 11 a.m. God bless. We'll see you soon.
My Uncle Cheney was one of over 150,000 Indigenous children that were taken to residential schools between the 1800s and 1996. My uncle ran away from school wanting to get home to his mom and dad, and sadly he didn't make it and died of exposure. When Gord Downey found out about my late Uncle Cheney's story, he wrote Secret Path, a series of poems that became an album, then a graphic novel, a documentary, and a concert. Gord met my family, and together we formed the Gord Downey and Cheney Winjack Fund. Together, we are sharing Secret Path and other reconciliation resources with legacy schools, setting up legacy spaces across Canada, and hosting events like Secret Path Week to inspire all Canadians to engage in reconciliation. Before he left us, Gord asked us all to do something.
You're gonna figure it out.
Will you join us? Together, we can make Canada a better place.
I love being a champ.
I am a member of the Warham's Child Amputee Program. Through CHAMP, I get the artificial limbs I need to participate in everyday activities.
I'm always growing, so I always need new devices.
Support and helpful information on living with an amputation is available to me anytime.
I get to meet other kids that are just like me.
It's your donations that make the Warham's CHAMP program possible.
Thank you.
Welcome back to KickBack. My name is Ben, and we are proud to be presented by the CMHA Brant Haldeman Norfolk. We are here in Paris, Ontario at Lost Bandit Bike Co. And I'm now joined by Greg from the Casual Athlete, longtime friend, proud supporter, I think from the very beginning of KickBack, right? Since inception.
Yeah.
It's just been incredible to have your support, and I'm so glad that you made the drive from London to little old Paris here.
It's always my pride, man. it's become a mission.
Right.
And I know it has for you too. We've talked about it on the off time. We're kind of kicking back all the time, it seems like. So it's one of those things where I'm really a believer in boots on the ground in action. And it feels like that when I'm here. I feel like I finally get that soapbox that I love, you know? Sheesh.
Here's your stage.
So yeah, it's just, it's always good to drive down. And what it does is it kind of gets me out of my environment too, makes me kind of think outside the box a little bit. I'm not on my turf, you know what I mean? So I got to think a little bit differently. I like that.
And I think it's always neat too, because your perspective comes from a slightly different angle than most in what you do with the casual athlete, and like you're literally rebuilding people, and their confidence, and you're bringing fitness to the rest of us, right? And it's been special to see that, and literally you're taking people that have been told that they probably won't move ever again, and providing them with the opportunity to be able to move.
Yeah, man.
And that's incredible. And so just for you to be able to come on and share your experience, we're almost at a place now where we're coming in and we're sharing like the recap from the year.
Totally,
so, I just wanted to talk to you about what you've experienced over the last year.
Oh man, this year has been the best year for TCA, and in so many ways the hardest and the worst. And it hurts to say that because I love this company. I've been at it for 10 years, but this path has trials, and I do come at it from a different angle. I'm coming at it from a fitness angle, you know what I mean? And so the whole promise is fitness for the rest of us, and that promise was put to the test this year. I especially dedicate myself to men's mental health. I'm an advocate for all mental health, but for my brothers, especially the ones who have been hurt, the ones that are in the hospital, or the ones that have made it out but are trying to survive at home, it was a particularly difficult year. And we lost two incredible men. And through that journey of grief, a lot was learned. And I know last year you were speaking a lot about grief, and you were on your own path at that time. And I remember talking to you before and after our kickback session, and it was just so clear how much it had impacted you. And when it happened to me, different circumstances, but important men to me, I really thought of you, Ben, and I really thought of kickback. But I mean, like, I don't want to make it sound like it's a pitch here. This is to underline the importance of this, because the number one lesson I learned was you never know when it's going to be you. You never know when it's going to be your father. You never know when it's going to be your brother or best friend, or just someone out in the community that you really, really care about. And so in order to, I guess, test myself, I kept bringing myself to it. And that was one of the hardest parts of the job. That meant doing workouts with people in the ICU. That meant doing workouts with people who were even semi-conscious, and trying to just be there for them and tell them that I'm here. And I'm here for the reason you hired me for. And I'm ready to go as soon as you just give her a shake and give it a try. And if you can't, I'm here. And I believe through that experience, I learned the value of just being there and committing yourself to whatever environment that person is trying to heal in.
Right, and I just think it's so cool that you are showing up and you are being present with these individuals that have called upon you, and that you've been brought in front of to be able to do that. How do you prepare yourself for those situations, and just what does that look like for you?
Excellent question, man. That just hit me like a freight train. How do I deal with that? I really lean into my friendships, and I really talk to the people who are seeing me, you know, and that means family too, of course, right? I think the rest of it comes down to self-care. But I got a new perspective on self-care. I maybe had a toxic idea about it a couple years ago, where I was like, well, what's a bath gonna do for me? You know, what's ping pong gonna do? You know, but it actually turned out to be the thing that became most essential, not as a reactive, but as a preventative. And so when I went down to my gym for my workout, it's not just about the muscles. It's definitely not about the calorie burn, man. I'm the casual athlete, dude. It's definitely about what's going on here and what's going on here, and everybody who needs that strength and everybody who needs that flexibility. And I'm speaking both literally and metaphorically here. But if I'm not doing that self-care routine, man, it goes off the rails. And it did. Right. And it did. And I think every mental health professional would have that moment where they have just given so much that when it comes to the self-care game, you had to make a choice. Either it's me or it's them. Mm-hmm. And this is the unspoken story of so many mental health professionals, is that they always choose them. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's not a mistake, but a form of leadership, where they're just hoping that other people out in society are going to see that role modeling and take it on themselves. Right. So there will be less for these heroes out in community to do, but they're never going to stop. They don't know how, you know, like they're definitely getting their own therapy and stuff like that because of this, right? But that's the value of the community we've built, is that there is that for our support workers and for people out there slugging it out.
Right. And for those moments of darkness where you found yourself there, how did you pick yourself back up?
Sometimes I couldn't. I'm going to be honest, man. Like, sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes I had to take the day off and just like take the L. And that part, I think, is really hard for a lot of people, is to understand when you've given too much and you need to recoup and recharge. So thankful to Up Yoga for giving me that opportunity this year. And that was an eye-opener, man. I needed that. I didn't know how in the zone I was until I came to see you guys, and I was surrounded by other caring men, and they're reaching out to me. Hey, Greg, put down the phone, man. Hey, Greg, stretch out. You gave me some shorts, dude. That's the kind of stuff that lifts me up, is when somebody gives that authentic reach out and really decides to help. And so I think that's what everybody would need in my position, but that's something that really helped me, is the fact that I had a community around me that wasn't waiting for me to ask. They just came in and gave. If we all did that, like our heroes in our community, we would have way less problems. I hope. Yeah, right.
I think community is so important. I think, and I'm seeing it in my personal space so much more, is that the importance and the need for community building and providing those opportunities for people to come together. And I think specifically for men, we're seeing a big shift in the need. It's always been there, but I think that it's more prevalent than ever before.
Most certainly.
And I think it's just, can you speak to just the importance of those spaces, and maybe for the men that are watching us chat right now, about if they don't have that, what could they do to find it?
Man, that's a tough one, especially for men in rural communities. You know, Paris is a smaller community. Strathroy, where I'm from, very small community, right? And the communities that support it, that are outlying, are even smaller.
Tonight with Giovanni Petiti has killer monologues, great local guests who have too much talent for national late night, and this show's got high energy. Bills. It's the show TV critics are saying is just like Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, if you ordered it on Temu. So join me Sundays at 9 p.m. on Rogers TV. Hey, I've seen your social calendar. What else do you got to do, huh? Nice.
Aging Well brings you conversations with experts to help empower your golden years with enthusiasm and optimism. Don't miss Aging Well with Angela and Alice Liu, Mondays at 7 p.m.
My dad was a railway porter. It was just about the only job a black man could get. But he had big plans for us. Music would be our ticket out of poverty. I knew we couldn't afford that piano, so I practiced twice as hard.
Nice, Stacy. Okay, Oscar, let's hear it.
Turns out, I wasn't half bad. Then I found jazz, or it found me. It wasn't all easy, though. I faced a lot of hate, but I found my stage. They call me the man with 4 hands. Well, I don't know about that, but let's see how far this ticket takes me.
From Montreal to Carnegie Hall and far beyond,
Oscar Peterson became one of the most recorded and celebrated jazz musicians of all time.
The Cruise TV brings you the people and stories behind the coolest cars on the road. Don't miss the Cruise TV, Sundays at 7 p.m.
Hi, I'm Mike Farwell, and I'd like to invite you into this studio every weekday from 9 until 1 for a show that I think you're going to like. It's called The Mike Farwell Show, and it deals with the issues of the day. Local, provincial, national, even international. You'll hear from the newsmakers, and you'll get the chance to make news yourself when you call in and share your opinion. If you want to know what's going on in your community, The Mike Farwell Show is the place to find out.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm so happy to have these prosthetic legs. I wear them every day so I can do all the things I love to do. I like to hike, skate, and do gymnastics. Because of your donations, WAMPS is able to give me these devices. When you donate, you help kids like me. Thank you.
Welcome back to KickBack. My name is Ben Strasser, and we are proudly presented by CMHA, Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk, and I'm now joined by my cousin, Casey. Casey, thank you so much for coming here today.
I'm very happy to be here.
I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm what we're about to talk about is something that is very close to both of us.
Very close to both of us.
And it was the loss of your dad, my Uncle Ken. And so I just really appreciate you coming to share about him, to talk about who he was and what he meant, and also your grief journey as well. So I really appreciate that. So to start, I would just love for you to maybe share a little bit about what you'd love the audience to know about who your dad was.
Absolutely. My dad was a very funny person. He was very shy, but he filled up a room. And that's something that I always remember about him. He was very funny. He was able to make us all crack up every single time at every holiday. And he was a really good dad, too. He was a great dad. He was really good with how he handled things that me and Nolan kind of discovered about ourselves as years went on, things like ADHD and autism and things like that. And he was just very kind and loving too. He just had so much love in his heart for everybody as well. He was a really great person. There's nobody like him.
Yeah.
He was very special, very unique.
Yeah, he was an incredible man, and somebody that I looked up to and held very close to my heart. And it was very difficult to navigate that time. And so it's hard to lose somebody you love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found for me personally, and maybe we all felt it too, was that just the waiting. Since he was in hospice, we knew he was gonna pass away for a very long time. Not a very long time, a couple weeks, but that part of waiting for so long was really, really hard. And so when he finally did pass away, it was very sad, but it was also a bit of relief off your shoulders that this person who was in so much pain was just not in pain anymore and was in a better place. And even though we lost them, you know, they're somewhere that's better for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had come to learn that was anticipatory grief.
Yes.
And I think that in all the grief that I have experienced, that is by far the hardest.
The hardest one.
And just like that, it's kind of like Groundhog Day. I remember going to hospice and having that, like just you didn't know, like it was kind of like, is this day going to be the day?
Absolutely.
And then you'd go in and you'd kind of restart, and is this day going to be the day?
Yeah. It was, and especially that one day that we all had where we thought he was going to pass. I was alone that day, and the nurses just told me, they're like, he's declining, you might want to have some of your family come in, or at least talk to somebody and let them know. So I got very scared, and I called everybody to go. And that was a really hard one to just kind of be there. I felt very alone that time because it was really just me and him. So I had to make sure everybody was there. I think it was just me and Nancy, possibly. I can't exactly remember who was there with me, but I remember just being alone with him in the room and then having to like make that call of let's get everybody here just in case.
Right.
So that was very difficult to kind of navigate being so young. Because I was only 16 at the time, and so it was a lot to navigate being that age and having to feel that way. Like there's just this weight on your shoulders. Yeah.
Well, and it's something too, and I don't know if it was the same for you, but like since he was diagnosed, like it didn't seem real almost.
Yeah, it was just like it felt like it was just kind of in this limbo, but I also felt like I had a lot of time to kind of process it too. So at first it felt like just like this isn't real, and this is just like this is something that it's gonna pass, and it'll be like just the hard spot that we'll all go through together, but then it'll be good in the end. And it wasn't. But you know, I think because we knew for so long, and it'd been 4 years, that it was kind of at least in my head, it was like there's that possibility that could happen. I just didn't think it would.
Right.
And so that made it very hard to like learn that way, because you have so much hope, and then it happens and you don't expect it.
And that was, I think for me, it was like I held on, it wasn't real until we got the call that like they were just the chemo wasn't working the way that everybody had hoped that it was going to, and then all of a sudden it became very real.
Yeah, it definitely just felt like a trait at first. Then I agree with you. It felt just real in that moment.
What would you say has been like your biggest help in navigating this journey?
I have to say, just really like one, my family, because we all went through this together, so we're able to kind of help hold each other up. But a lot of it has been like looking back at like memories of my dad, and also being able to share with other people about him too. People who didn't know him, I get to talk about him a lot, because now that I'm in this next stage of my life with university, I'm making a lot of new friends, and so a lot of them right now don't really know about that part of me, but I'll get to tell them about like who my dad was and how great of a person he was. And that for me is the main like bright spot, is that I can talk about how great he was and keep that part of him alive.
When it's neat to, and a part of this whole journey has been, for me, has been seeing how everybody has grieved differently and in their own way, depending on their relationship with him. And so it was just interesting to see how everybody kind of navigated that change. And it's cool for me to be able to see him through you and then your brother, who's sitting over there right now, who will be joining us soon. But it's so cool to be able to see that, to see his legacy carry on through you both.
Yeah, my mom talks all the time about, she's like, you guys are so your dad's kids, because we'll say something or we'll do something, and she's like, your dad did that all the time.
Yeah, right.
And it's really funny to see kind of things that I didn't really know about him too kind of shine through in me and my brother, and getting to hear about that and learn a little bit more about that too. He was a very funny guy. So a lot of the things that like me and my brother, we talk about a lot are things that he talked about a lot, or tones of voice or mannerisms. And that comes through a lot more now that we're growing older and growing up.
For somebody that's watching this interview right now and hearing us talk about how wonderful your dad was, what would you tell somebody that's maybe watching and is going through a similar journey that you and I experienced?
Yeah, I'd say stick close to your net of people that's going through a similar thing that you are, and really kind of feel that love and show that love for that person. Because there are a lot of things that I wish I told my dad, and I wish that I spent more time alone with him as well, to be able to talk to him and tell him things that I wish I was able to tell him before he passed. So I'd say tell them those things before they're gone. Stick with your net of people, because they're going to be your biggest support, and just spread the love.
What was it like for you to walk alongside your dad during that period of time, and how has that shaped how you show up for your family now?
I think it's really helped me to kind of show up more. I was taking care of my dad a lot. When I was there, and I barely left his side. And so I think now that's made me kind of more of a loyal person.
Hello to your cell phone. How can I help?
Adults, I need somebody, not just anybody. Won't you please, 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 please help
I'm a singer-songwriter from Six Nations, and I've been writing songs about my experience, and with that being said, it's helped me hold hope in my heart in following my dreams and being resilient to everyday Indigenous battles.
Competition between spirit, earth, and wind, let me tell you now.
This song in particular, The Shiner, is a special song that I wrote for my grandfather. He was a snow snake maker, and that is a Haudenosaunee winter sport. It's my job to educate and to share, and the music allows me to do that.
He'll be shining snow snakes and mudcats to the end of his days.
Hey everyone, it's Sean Fafaro, and I'm thrilled to tell you that This Week in Rangers Nation is back for season number 2. I'll have everything you want with your East Ave Blue, special interviews, features, highlights, and more. Catch This Week in Rangers Nation every Friday.
Leonard Thompson, 13 years old, diabetes mellitus, 65 pounds.
Starve the child to let them live. The treatment's as cruel as the disease. It's a death sentence.
Dr. Banting, this could be it. He's the first to receive this trial. But will it save him?
It's not pure enough.
So we try again. And again. And again.
Before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was a death sentence. Banting, Best, Collop, and McLeod's breakthrough has saved millions of lives. Leonard Thompson's was the first.
Hello, just want to remind you that Lions TV Bingo is on Mondays here on Rogers TV, starting at 8, running till 9. Same great show, lots of prizes given away, and lots of funny little trivia along the way.
Welcome back to KickBack. My name is Ben Strasser, and I'm now joined by my friend Tammy. Tammy, thank you so much for joining us again.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
Tammy, through our discussions over the numerous years that we've had you on, you have personally helped me so much navigate different griefs that I've gone through, which is a part of what we're going to be talking about today. But I just appreciate your mission as a grief recovery specialist.
Oh, thank you.
And what you've done for me and my family and our community through that as well. So thank you.
No, thanks.
So first up, it's something that I've experienced and something that I've seen you talk about recently is just the idea of the word grief and what it carries and how for some people that can be a barrier to maybe seeking help. Can you elaborate on that?
It is. I don't know why our society puts this really yucky feeling on grief, but they do. And it's so ingrained in us that I know as myself, as a grief recovery specialist, I'll be at a party one night and somebody, I'll meet somebody new and I'll ask them, what do you do? And they'll say, oh, I'm a grief counselor. And my first physical reaction is, ugh, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to pause and I have to stop and I say, wait a minute, that's what you do. And, you know, I think it goes all the way back in history, especially for women, because if you look around the town of Paris, you'll see what's called widow walks at the top of the houses. And it was like if you were grieving the loss of your husband, say, you were segregated from society. The only outdoor air you could get was to go on these widow walks. And so as we move through society, it almost becomes something you're ashamed of. It's something you want to hide. And yet the irony of the whole situation is grief is the most natural thing we do. And our bodies are designed to process these emotions and release them. But we're taught to store them and treat our bodies like storage facilities. And like any piece of equipment not used properly, it starts to break down.
Right, and I mean, you shared about, it's like, I think it's a generational thing of not sharing your grief, but I know a lot of people do struggle with just even voicing the fact that they have grief, let alone that they're struggling. And I know from my personal, like just having different conversations, that a lot of people don't know that that is what they're experiencing. And I think that there's power in being able to name something. So can you just share a little bit about what grief, like the different, I know we talked about the idea of there's like 40 or more reasons that people grieve.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Ben. So what I'd like the listeners to do is just filter their experience through these 5 statements. So grief is an emotional loss of any kind. Grief is the conflicting feelings brought up by a change in something that was familiar. It's about the things that we wished had been better, different, or more. It's about our unrealized hopes, dreams, and expectations. And it's about things that have been left unsaid. So when you think in your mind it's the death of a loved one or a divorce, which is kind of the 2 topics that we're allowed to kind of put in that category, the other 40 plus reasons why we grieve fall into those categories. And we've talked before, it's also choices that we've made, things that we know are in our best interest, supposedly happy things. But if we don't grieve the conflicting emotions that surround those choices, we can sabotage the life that we're building for ourselves.
I know from my personal experience, until I had met you, I didn't realize that grief looked like 40 plus different things.
Yeah.
And so the loss of a business, the change in a relationship, like going from being single to being married.
Yeah.
It's a super positive thing and a happy thing and a thing that you know is good for you,
Right.
but it's like there's that life beforehand, and then
Right.
you introduce children into the mix, and then there's grief in the relationship that you had with your partner before the kids came into the picture and what that looked like, and then that repeats when you have a second one, from personal experience. But it's you can have those positive things, and like that can be conflicting in the fact that you have something so happy,
right,
but paired with like that loss of something, but you don't necessarily know that that is what that is because nobody talks about it.
No, and I don't think we give each other permission to grieve that, because if you say to one of your friends, wow, like I kind of miss poker night, or I miss, going out on motorcycle, whatever, if you say that, you get judged for, yeah, but you're a dad now, right? But no, those feelings are very real. Mm-hmm. I said to my daughter the other day, she has 2 little kids, and I said, do you ever remember what your life was like before kids? And she goes, no, I don't. Because she's just so sleep deprived, right? Yeah. And focused. We talked about it. You're in survival mode in those first 2 years. And that's when you really have those emotions to grieve, so you can really enjoy being a parent.
With the birth of our first son, it wasn't what we expected. No. It wasn't what was planned. No. And there was a traumatic piece to it where it was like Theo came out, and then he was taken away to the NICU, and he was there for 7 days. And that was, I just remember being in the shower, like just crying, because that was not like, you're like, this little human is here, and now what do we do? And we didn't really have any answers, and seeing him hooked up to all these machines, it was traumatic. And then there was, with Benny, our second, there was a lot of redemption. And the fact of like his birth came in, and it was much more of a normal, like stereotypical one, and there was just a lot of redemption in that, and a lot of healed emotions by experiencing that in that way.
Well, and you know, something else that's not talked about is I really believe as a grief recovery specialist that we set our new parents up for failure because we create this illusion, you know, it's going to be this euphoric experience. But then when we are sleep deprived and we're grieving that other life and we're maybe living in some sense of regret, maybe, we just don't feel that we have permission to grieve that because, well, nobody else must feel this because parenthood is supposed to be amazing. No, it's the most challenging thing you'll ever do, right? And yes, don't get me wrong, I love my kids and I'm glad I had the experience, but I've also gone back and grieved those emotions that I didn't know existed, and it did shift things for me.
Can you explain how like unresolved grief can pop up in everyday life?
Well, I think the best way to explain that is we're taught to bury these emotions. We're taught not to speak of them ever again. But yet every current, present experience we have or any future experience we have gets filtered through our past if it hasn't been resolved. And so we may have triggers, we call them triggers, where all of a sudden you're reacting. You're not responding, you're reacting to a stimuli, and you don't even realize that it's nothing to do with what's happening right now in the moment. It's being filtered by those unresolved emotions. And what our body will do is it will just keep turning up the volume to get our attention. So it might be we are not eating the same, we're not sleeping the same, maybe our nervous system is really on high alert, but it will just keep turning up the volume until we turn our attention to that. And sometimes it shows up in physical symptoms if that's what it takes to get our attention. And I remember reading this book, it just blew my mind. This gentleman had cancer on his leg, and he said to his wife and his kids, I need to go on a holiday by myself. I need to come to resolve about my situation. And so he went away, and while he was gone, he realized that he was an artist and he'd given up that dream to work in his dad's roofing business. So think about it, you're an artist and you go into the skilled trades. Not that there's anything wrong with the skilled trades, but that's not a match. And when he resolved all those emotions, he got onto the plane and he went to scratch his leg and he realized that the tumor on his leg had completely fallen off.
Wow.
Because all he needed to do, and I'm not saying that all medical conditions are that easy to resolve, but in this particular situation, the tumor was his body's way of saying, you're not living an authentic life. You need to leave your dad's business and follow your true heart. So.
Thank you for sharing that. And for somebody that's watching at home and maybe through this discussion is thinking, you know what, I do have some unresolved things that I need to work through, what would you say their first steps are that they could take?
The first step is we have to be aware that we want something different. And we have to be aware that we are carrying these unresolved emotions. And for some people, maybe not necessarily men, but they're welcome to do it. But women can journal. And journal certainly isn't the way you heal those emotions. But what it does is it gives you the opportunity to give them a name, and it gives you permission to feel them. We can't change anything in our lives if we're not aware that there's something that we need to change.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hey everyone, it's Sean Faro, and I'm thrilled to tell you that This Week in Rangers Nation is back for season number 2. I'll have everything you want with your East Ave Blue, special interviews, features, highlights, and more. Catch This Week in Rangers Nation every Friday.
Ani, I'm Carolyn King, and I'm a member of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the creator of the Moccasin Identifier. Philip Cote, an artist in Toronto here, took and redrew real moccasins. We're starting over with the children. The idea is that they would research whose land their school is built on, near, or what treaty area they're in. And the educational kit that we have has all that information in there. And the children